Okay, what I'm going to show you how to make today is this skirt. It's going to have 3 different colors. We're going to have one color on the waistband like this one has. We're going to have the middle part. And then on the bottom I'm going to show you either how to do a mod hemline or a ruffle. So we're actually going to do a ruffle today with this one, but this one has the mod hemline. Okay, so what you need are some rectangles. For sizes 3 all the way up to 6, even 7 and 8, I just use 45-inch pieces. So basically how it comes off the bolt, I use the same length. And you'll see the top, the waistband is going to be my blue. The middle is going to be the floral looking or paisley looking print. And then the bottom, because I'm doing a ruffle and I'm going to need to gather it, I have 2 45-inch pieces. If you're going to do the mod hemline, all you need is 1 of those 45-inch pieces. Okay, the top of yours, the width, is always going to be 3 inches, regardless of size. That's just going to be what's covering the elastic. So it's always going to be 3 inches. And then, depending on how long you want your ruffle to be, I usually always make the bottom piece also 3 inches. If you wanted to have a longer ruffle, you could do 4 or 5. Basically depends on the look of, the look you're going for. The middle part that's what you're going to need to measure the child for. So you want to take into consideration that the waist is, even though it's 3 inches, it's going to be made into a casing, so it's only going to be about 1 inch. So you're going to take the top of the waist of the child, you're going to already have your inch there, and then you just want to measure down her leg to where you want the skirt to fall, and just take into account that you're going to have, after seam allowance, you're going to have about a 2-inch ruffle or 2-inch hemline at the bottom, depending on whether you do a ruffle or a mod hemline. So that's how you're going to get your middle piece. For the younger ones, I usually don't do skirts for really little ones, but if you're doing like 18 months, 2 years, some 3s, you probably wouldn't need 45 inches. I would say maybe 35 inches would be enough for the length for all of them. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to sew your waist to the middle part. So all you're going to do is you're going to put them right sides together, and you're just going to sew all the way down the 1/4 inch seam allowance. Like that. So now I have them sewn together. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I have my seam kind of floating around under here, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put my seam over to the left-hand side. So I'm going to push it over, and I'm actually going to sew the seam so it's pushed over to the side to the middle piece. Okay, and if you accidentally push it over to the left side, it's no big deal. As long as it's not floating around, as long as you have it sewed to one side or the other. Okay, so now it just looks a little bit cleaner. So you can see the seam there that you sewed. Okay, so the next step I did is I put these 2 pink pieces together at the short side, and I sewed across. And then all the way down I made a gathering stitch. So I set my machine at 4, and then I just went all the way down both pieces at the very top. I didn't backstitch. If you backstitch, you won't be able to pull it. So you just have to make sure that it's on the longest setting and you don't backstitch. Okay, and if you decided that you wanted to do the mod hemline like this one, all you do is, instead of using 2 of the pink, you would just use 1, and you do the same exact step as you did with the blue. You would just right sides together, attach it, and sew all the way down. Okay, so what I did was I gathered my pink fabric, my 2 rectangles, and I just pinned it about every inch to the length of the skirt. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew. Okay, so as you can see, I sewed the pink to the middle piece. And what I also did was I also did the same step with the seam. I pushed the seam under, and then I sewed a stitch across. So it looks nice and neat, and the seam is pushed against the middle part. Okay, so my next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the skirt. So I'm going to put right sides together, and I'm going to line up my seams. I'm even going to put a pin just to make sure. And then I'm just going to sew down. Okay, so here's my hem. I just did a narrow hem. So I went all the way around. And now I'm ready to make my casing. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm making my casing. So I'm folding over about 1/4 of an inch, and then folding over again about 3/4 of an inch. And I'm starting over here, and then once I get to the end, I'm going to leave a hole about 1 inch wide so I can slip my elastic through. Okay, so now I'm going to put my elastic in my casing. I have 3/4 of an inch elastic. I'm making this for a size 4, so my elastic is 19 inches long. I'll post a link underneath this video so you can see exactly how long you want your elastic to be, depending on the size. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to feed it through using my safety pin, and then when I get all the way around, I'm going to attach the 2 ends of the elastic together. And then I'm going to sew my casing hole closed. Okay? Okay, so after you sew your casing shut, you're pretty much finished. All I'm going to do is clean up the strings, and I'll be done. And then you can wear it however you want. You're going to have one seam down the side. So if you want to put that in the back, you can put it in the back. If you want it on the side, you can put it on the side. And one thing I forgot to mention is just that you're doing the same thing with the mod hemline, but since you don't have a ruffle, all you're just doing is hemming the bottom.
Can you do twirl?
Okay.
Yes. Oh, looks nice. Do you like your new skirt?